candidates' questions and answers. Please refrain from applause or comments or something until at the very end of the forum, after each candidate's had their closing remarks. There'll be a little time then. But the more time taken up with applause or anything, the less time we get to hear from the candidates. I'd like to welcome tonight's candidates for Board of County Commissioners for District 2, Mr. Martin Turner and Mr. Steve Winkle. Mr. Winkle, after the coin toss, will be answering the first question first, and then each candidate then will get a chance to reply. For Board of Education, Ms. Allison Murray and Mr. Michael Spears. Mr. Spears will be answering the first question in their group. Also like to welcome Ms. Clara Harden, running as an independent for Board of County Commissioners. So she won't be on this primary ballot, but we will see her on the ballot in the fall. Okay. Tonight's moderators, Ms. Linda Williams and Mr. Chris Thurner. Okay. The forum will be conducted in the following manner. Each candidate will be asked a question on a rotating basis, and they'll have 3 minutes to respond. I'll be timing, and we'll give them a 30-second heads up when they're almost out of time, as well as your 3 minutes is up. The moderator will then have the option to allow them to finish their thought. If they think that thought's going too long, we don't have a gong, but we do have a bell. Okay. And that concludes my point, and I will turn it over to the moderators. Oh, excuse me. Yes, please rise and for Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. Mr. Winkle, what are the most pressing Pardon me, I got carried away here. Yeah, Mr. Winkle, you have 3 minutes to make your opening statement.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Is that working right that way? Thank you. I've been told that I talk way too much and that I hardly ever shut up. But the fact of the matter is that I'm not very comfortable talking in this kind of an environment, because normally I work in a situation where I deal with a lot of facts, and that's kind of the basis. So if I get a little too wordy, I'm going to apologize for that. Colleen and I decided to move to Camden County 15 years ago. Decided to move to Camden County 15 years ago because we loved what we found here. We found friendly people. We found the climate that we wish to live in, including the sand gnats. We found that we could get the medical services that we needed and that we could also afford to live here. And so when we decided to build our home, we bought a very nice lot in Misty Harbor, built our dream home, and we've never looked back. Both my wife and I have become engaged in the community. We both do volunteer work of different sorts. And because of that, we've gotten to know an awful lot of people. And when I said we never look back, it's because Camden County has been really good for me and my family. My background includes extensive international work. I came out of high school as a scuba diving instructor. And as a scuba instructor, I traveled the world teaching diving and taking dive tours. Later on, at the end of my various careers, I had a total of 4. I worked for an international company that built environmental equipment for electric power plants and pulp and paper mills. And I rose through the company to become the head of design engineering and also the head of the world global supply chain for a rather large, well-known company. And when I learned those different skills in different countries and how to work in different countries, I learned how to be effective in getting things done. Sometimes I couldn't speak the language, and I had to figure out what the problem was by paying attention to what was going on. I am speaking way too long here. Let me tell you. Thank you. I believe in principles of equal opportunity and fiscal transparency. And everything that I do and talk about has to do with those kinds of issues. I look at things with a very hard look at whether it's worth the money and whether we need it or not. And so when I look at any issue, it has to do with whether we can afford it and it's a good buy.
Yes, Mr. Turner, go ahead.
My name is Martin Turner. I moved here when I was 4 years old, 1959. We moved to Kingsland, Georgia, and I began, I thought I had it. I began my elementary school in Kingsland at Kingsland Elementary. I've lived here my whole life. I as well love Camden County. Always have, always will. Never wanted to leave it, never wanted to go anywhere else. Can't say that I am really that enthused with the San Nat, so they could take them and go somewhere else, and I'd be happy with that. One of the reasons that I'm running for this position is because I want to see harmony in our community. I've lived here, like I said, all of my life, and I've seen what disharmony does to a community. I've seen what disharmony does to a government. I've seen people that couldn't get along. I've been here when St. Mary's literally they almost got in fistfights in some of their meetings there, and they couldn't get anything done. I want to see us get a lot of stuff done. If you go just a little south of us, you've got Nassau County. If you go just a little north of us, you've got Brunswick, Jekyll Island, and St. Simons. And if you look at those places, you will find that they're thriving and they're growing. As a businessman and running a business for 20 years and understanding what takes place when you run a business, I understand the economic growth and how important it is for our community. I understand the multiplier effect, whether you know what that is or not. It basically means that as I pay you $1, you spend that dollar in this community, and it also helps this community to raise even more money to keep things moving and moving forward. I understand all of that. I'm a 1973 graduate of Camden County High School. I played on the very last Hurricane football team and the very first Camden County Wildcat football team. I don't know if that means anything to you, but I will tell you this. I know what it's like to be a team player. I want to be a team player. I want to help. I don't want to hinder. I don't want to push. I want to help completely and see our government work together to advance this community, not to slow it down, not to stop it, but to move and to move forward. I want us, not Nassau County, to grow. I want us, not Brunswick, to grow. I want to see what God or what we can do together. You tell I'm a preacher, right? Couldn't help it. I couldn't help it. It's just there. But I want to see us work together and see things grow in Camden County.
Hey, everybody. Good evening. My name is Mike Spears, and I'm a candidate for the Camden County School Board in District 2, which is why we're all here today. So I'm going to take my minutes just to give a little background of me and what my experience is. I'm a native New Orleanian, born in Louisiana, born in New Orleans. My My father was a captain in the Navy. He was a naval physician, so we lived the nomadic Navy life, moved around from naval hospital to naval hospital, spent a lot of time in Chesapeake, Virginia, when he was stationed at the Norfolk Naval Hospital. So I have a lot of experience with that, and I know that's something that the kids in our school system deal with quite a bit. After high school, I went to college. I have a degree in education. My bachelor's degree is in education. After college, I joined the Navy myself, became a submariner. My last duty station was here in Kings Bay. My last duty station here was on the USS Tennessee, the SSBN 734. I got married to my beautiful wife that's in the back of the room today. I appreciate her being out here in 2005, and we now have 3 daughters that we are raising. The youngest 2, they've all gone through the Camden County school system. My youngest 2 are still in the system. My middle daughter, Miley, is in 10th grade at the high school, and my youngest daughter, Michaela, is in 7th grade at St. Mary's Middle School. So their well-being and the things that I can do to help affect positive change for them is why I want to be here. I think it's important that the members of the school board, for a lack of a better term, have a horse in the race and are able to have their pulse, their finger on the pulse of what's actually going on in the day-to-day environment and what these children and the teachers and all of the staff of the schools, what they're experiencing on a day-to-day basis. So that's why I'm here today, because I feel like I have all of the qualifications and the experience to do that. My day job, I'm the Human Resources Director for the Camden County government for the Board of Commissioners. So I've been exposed there, and my career in human resources has fed my need to help people. And I feel like that's my calling, and that's what I'm gifted at. I'm a big advocate of youth sports. Will Turner and I were talking earlier, and it was reminiscing for me. I spent 10 years as the commissioner of the Camden Soccer Club, we ran teams of children that were 4 years old and under, up to 12 years old and under. During that time, we coached 30 individual soccer teams. So these children are important to me. Their well-being is important to me, and I look forward to doing everything I can to that end. Thank you so much.
My name is Allison Murray, and I also am a candidate for the school board. And I decided to run because I deeply care about this community. I deeply care about the generation of students that are coming up through these school systems. I'm a product of Camden County Schools. I graduated the class of 2002. As an athlete and as a student, I experienced firsthand what these incredible teachers and what this incredible school system can invest in a person. And I came back to Camden after I graduated high school. After several years away, I came back just to invest back in the community that invested so much in me. So that's really why I'm here. I grew up in the school system, as I said. I'm raising a daughter in the school system. And at the end of the day, I really want to be in the room where decisions are made that affect so many people that I care about. I care about teachers. I care about students. I care about parents being involved. I care about the decisions that are being made for the future of our kids. These are all things that I'm incredibly passionate about. I've given my entire adult life to advocating for the next generation. I worked here in town for 7 years as a youth pastor, leading teenagers, and during that time I did 2 funerals for students who had taken their own lives. And that's just something that I feel incredibly passionate about, that we have to do better for these kids. We have to stand in the gap for them. I'm concerned about mental health for our teachers and for our kids, and so I want to be a part of the solution. I don't want to be somebody who gets on Facebook and makes comments or sits around with my friends and complains. I want to be somebody who has a hand in what takes place next, and I want to be someone who is in the room where decisions are made that affect this next generation, especially with just some of the things going on in the world, and I want to be a part of those conversations. So I am passionate about the next generation. My degree is in adolescent psychology. It's something I know a lot about. I've studied a lot. And I'm passionate about this community. I'm for this community. I want it to be a better place, and I want this to be the best place to raise kids and the best place for teachers to come and work and the best place for school employees to be a part of an incredible system. And so that's why I'm running. I have no political aspirations. I have no connections to local government. I have no connections to anybody at the Board of Education. I simply just want to be a part of the solution, and so that's why I'm running.
Let's try again. Mr. Turner.
You want me to read the
opportunity.
question? You want me to read the question?
That's my job.
Okay. Well, you gave it to me,
I
Chris.
gave it to you so you can read it.
Okay.
to make sure you can understand it. What are the most pressing financial needs facing the county, and how will you address those needs?
You know, the last meeting, Board of Commissioners meeting that I went to, they're different meetings. I don't know if you've ever been. I think everyone should go once or twice anyway. I heard them say that basically they were fiscally sound at this point. I think the most pressing financial needs in our company or in our county are the people. Several months ago, there was a horrible tornado that tore through St. Mary's and took out a lady's house. I'll never forget this. We were called by the EM, the emergency management team, to go to mobilize the churches and go down there and help them. Well, I see a need for people to get stuff. There was a lady, she's 72 years old. She has 2 children, grandchildren that she's trying to raise, and a tree fell on her trailer and she lost everything. And ever since then, I have been trying my best to find out one way to get this lady a house. We worked with Bill Gross. He's going to build a house for $70,000. And then I started going to the government because I knew that basically the county got $10 million for this. I knew that St. Mary's got $5 million. I knew Kingsland got $5 million. Kingsland was giving this stuff away to people that had needs, but I couldn't get the other two to budge, and I'm still working on that. That's a financial need in our community for us to help other people, period. Now, I know we need infrastructure, especially with all the houses that are going up now. All of these things are taking place, and we got to work on our infrastructure. We got to work on our roads and get those things in shape. We need to get that bypass that goes around Kingsland. I do understand that. Those are pressing financial needs, but they're, to me, secondary to people. People are number one. Got to be. Our community has to be number one. That's the only way that we're going to continue to grow and be the people that we are supposed to be. That's extremely important to me. And I think you can work through the commissioners. Did you know that the commissioner's handbook says that a commissioner is the minister of the community? They are totally responsible for the health and safety of the community. And if that's true, that means that commissioner has to be in the community. When we went down there to help those folks on that day, we didn't just sit in an office and point fingers. We got chainsaws and we got everything that we needed, and we went down there and we straightened up yards and helped these people out. That's extremely important in any commissioner's life.
Mr. Winkle, let me reread the question. Mr. Turner, could you pass that to him so we can have it in front of him?
I can read it to him.
What are the most pressing financial needs facing the county, and how will you address those needs?
I agree with Martin that the community has an obligation to help each other, especially in times of need. We don't have just tornadoes. We have people who live in substandard housing that do not have water in their bathrooms. We have folks that the kids go to school every day from substandard housing in the county. And we have slumlords in Camden County. That's where everything gets closer to the responsibilities of the commissioners. The commissioners are responsible for developing a budget each year. And that budget has to fit within their ability to tax us and our tolerance for being taxed. And so it's a great idea for us to improve everybody's home so they have running water in their bathrooms. And we need to do that. And we need a greater focus on those things, but there's not a line item budget for it. And as a commissioner, I would make sure there's more sensitivity to the needs. For instance, the county commission put out an advertising piece a couple of days ago that said that the Coastal Regional Commission buses would be free until the money ran out. And that was the federal money that we got because of COVID. And once that money ran out, the people who can least afford the buses are going to have to start paying again. And so it makes sense for us to look at methods for us to be able to afford to help the people that are necessary. But in that $56 million budget, plus everything that we pay in the different SPOS taxes that we're paying, they also have the responsibility to put in sewage treatment and potable water at exit 22 so that all of that development that Mr. Turner spoke about that we need to do to be competitive, all that development will occur. That's long-range planning that is written in the 2037 strategic plan, but never implemented. And that's the problem, is that when you have 5 people on the dais who all agree, and most times the votes are 5-0, that means there's no other opinions being considered. And so part of the problem that we have in Camden County is that we don't have the other side of every equation being considered. We should be spending more money, and we should be taxing ourselves for the things that are important to our community. I'm not suggesting we waste even $1. I am a dollar hawk. I am probably the one person in the county that actually reads the budget and the certified annual financial report on the day that they are actually issued. So I want you to understand that it is very, very difficult for me to find that I am always going to agree with people in order to get things done.
Ms. Murray, you are the first person to answer the question for the school board. Let me read it aloud. Should Camden County voters support continuing the eSPLOST penny tax? And if you think they should, why? Or if you think they shouldn't, why not?
Yeah, I think my opinion is that they should. It's a tax that's already in place. It's just a continuation of a tax that we already have in motion. And those dollars go directly towards infrastructure for our schools. They don't pay salaries. They don't take care of any people issues. They take care of infrastructures like buses and technology, new buildings like the Fine Art Building, things like that, that actually promote education and have made our schools an incredible place for students to grow up. So I'm a firm believer in it. I also appreciate that it is a sales tax. And so anybody who enters our county pays that tax, not just local residents. And so it matters that anybody who's driving up and down our freeways gets to experience this same tax, and it pumps money back into our system that goes directly to infrastructure that, again, promotes technology, promotes infrastructure, promotes things that aren't necessarily people things, but that frees up budget to take care of other things because we're able to use the eSPLOST for those things. And so, yes, I'm absolutely for it, and I think our community should vote yes on it.
Mr. Spears, do I need to read the question again?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
So I couldn't agree any more with everything that Allison just said. So yes, I am a firm believer in the continuation of the eSPLOST as well, for the reasons that she expressed and even some more. I think all of us that live here in Camden, we've all noticed all of these new apartment complexes that are being built, all the new houses that are being built, especially at the end of Laurel Island, Winding River, all those places. Those things have a real ability to affect the attendance zones that our children use to go to the schools that they go to. I think we would all agree that the biggest purchase our families make are our homes, and probably the number one decision into the home we buy is what school our children are going to attend, right? So once all of these apartment complexes are completely full, and those homes are built, that could really skew where those kids go to school. And you want to see some upset parents, that's going to be, I've purchased a home where I want my child to go to school, and now they have to go to school somewhere else. So how do we solve that problem, and how have we solved it historically? The eSPLOST is how we have solved that. They did an addition to Matilda Harris using eSPLOST money. That's because the Lakes was growing so exponentially, and that's what allowed they added another wing to the school, and it allowed for more classrooms, more teachers, decreasing the size, the class sizes in those rooms. So the eSPLOST contributed directly to that. I know Sugar Mill is important to you. All of my girls went to Sugar Mill too. They've done the same thing there, and that is really the one that I think is going to benefit the most, because that's kind of where all of the new construction is going. They're in that attendance zone for Sugar Mill, and that's where that focus is going to need to be. But I agree with Allison on the other things as well. It's important that people do understand that it's not a new tax. As many people as I've spoken to, the hundreds, I would say, of people I've spoken to over the last couple of months since I decided to do this, a lot of folks think or were under the impression that we were adding a new tax, and that is not the case at all. It is a continuation of a tax that already exists. 1 penny on every dollar goes to the Board of Education that's spent in Camden County. The beautiful thing about that is it gets renewed at a minimum of every 5 years, or if we've reached the dollar amount of the goal of that eSPLOS. So the eSPLOS this year is for 5 years or $66 million. So if we reach $66 million quicker than in 5 years, then we'll vote to continue it again for another 5 years and another amount of money. It's important, again, that everybody that passes through pays that tax, so it's not the burden solely on the taxpayers of Camden County. And if the eSPLOS does not pass, that's going to force, positions to be cut, programs to be cut. The eSPLOS is absolutely invaluable to our students and to our teachers.
Mr. Winkler, you get the first crack at the next question. What are the top non-financial issues facing the county, and how will you address those issues?
It's interesting. The county commission has a lot to do with our quality of life. The county commission, for instance, contributes an equal amount of money to what Kingsland commits and what St. Mary's commits to the PSA. And so the influence of the county in that area to make sure that the quality of life is spread evenly throughout the county has to come from the county commissioners, because there's a lot of territory that is not being served in the portion of the county that is not included in the city limits. In our area, in District 2, there's a major problem with the fact that it takes forever to get the park in my community, Harriet's Bluff Park, to get any attention whatsoever. If you wanted to go there today to play basketball or play tennis, the bathrooms are locked. No access to the bathrooms. If you want to have a family picnic there, no bathrooms. If you want to go to use the boat dock where you might fish or lunch or land your boat, no bathrooms. And so when you're talking about non-financial issues, I'm speaking in terms of quality of life that are able to be controlled by the county commissioners. We also have another kind of a problem. We have a lot of transients moving through our county. They stop off and stay for a while. They're a problem that our police department has to deal with, our police departments have to deal with. But the county is primarily concerned with the sheriff's department. And the sheriff's department has just been year after year after year understaffed. And they can't put a full force out on the roads. That's a quality of life issue. E911, everyone in this room depends on them as if your life depends on it. Today, they're staffed at around 75%. A month ago, at 55%. And of course, the workers were having to get a lot of overtime to work. But someone who has to decide how to help someone prevent committing suicide is talking to someone else who's working in their 5th 12-hour shift of the week. And so we have a lot of problems like that in the county that don't stand out on the front page of the paper, but they're under the control of the county commission.
Mr. Turner, same question. Let me read it again. What are the top non-financial issues facing the county, and how will you address those issues?
I got it back on. I wrote down while he was speaking that it's trust. That's a non-financial issue. Seems like our community has lost trust. That really bothers me. Growing up here, if I stumped my toe, my neighbor would sometimes say, ouch. That's how close this community used to be. I would love to see that again. I would love to see us stop being so mean to each other. It baffles me sometimes to read what I read on Facebook, and I've been reading it. But people keep telling me to leave it alone because now I'm kind of a target, and people don't trust me. And I'm thinking, why don't you trust me? I've been here for 20 years, ran this business. I went in there and did these jobs, and sometimes we didn't do a good job. And Bill and I would have to go back and fix whatever we started. But we built trust with our customers. We took a business that we basically had a 401k, a truck, after we lost our job at the paper machine, and we took that business from 0 to 3,000 customers and $2.5 million in 20 years. But it was not easy. There were nights that I went home, I couldn't sleep because I was scared I wasn't going to make payroll the next day. But I trusted our community. And that, to me, is a non-financial issue. We have gotten so cynical of everyone around us that all we want to do is bark and bite at them. I want to see a day where we come together. That's really why I'm doing this. I'm not doing it for any other reason. And if you don't trust me, I'm sorry. I hate that for you because I am trustworthy. If you don't believe me, ask me. I'll tell you. The sheriff's department. What a great department. My nephew was a sheriff. He used to work for us. And we paid him a good salary. And I remember the day he left us because he wanted to be a deputy sheriff. And I told him, you're going to go and let somebody else shoot at you for $12 an hour. It just didn't make sense. Didn't make sense at all. I'd like to see the sheriff's budget met, personally. I don't like the fact that Florida's giving $5,000 bonuses to keep their law enforcement. And they're giving them to get hours at the same time. I don't like that. I would love to see us grow our community through trust and relationships and communication. I've got 30 seconds. Look at my, they gave me this card to show you. This little thing called a Q card or whatever they call it. I'm 67, so I don't know. But look at this. It takes you to a website where you can ask any question you want to. Ask me if I dye my hair, and I'll even answer that. You ask any question you want to on that website, and I'll answer it one way or the other. Bye.
Mr. Spears, you have the next question. The question says, are our county schools adequately teaching and preparing children regarding topics such as sex education, cyber safety, bullying, and suicide? If not, what should be done to improve student awareness and ability to deal with these subjects and conditions?
Well, that's a tough one. Is it adequate? I don't know. Those are areas that we could always improve upon, and there's a lot that can be done. I mean, society is changing so much all the time. We're all plugged in 24 hours a day, the 24-hour news cycle. All of our kids are in communication with each other 24 hours a day. Social media and all these places and all of these external pressures that these children have on them. So adequate, I don't know, but adequate isn't enough, even if it is. That's my opinion. Allison talked about mental health. That's something that's important to me also. I talked about my dad being a Navy physician. He was a psychiatrist that helped adolescents with their very specific needs, and it was what drove me to go to school for what I went to school for. When I got out of the Navy, when Haley and I decided to get out of the Navy and pursue a different career, I went to work for a place called Sutton Place Behavioral Health.